All right, welcome back. So this is our newly refactored array prototype implementation. Now we want to do something where, say in this case, we're going to have the same books collection all the time, and we want to basically separate the phases in which we have to send in these arguments. So right now, books in year requires that we have both arguments up front. But say I want to send different years in, or something like that, right? So I would have to keep calling this. So if I wanted to do this for multiple years, I'd have to write it multiple times with different year values, whatever. And this is kind of repetitive. So we have to keep reusing the books argument, even though it's not changing. So what if there was a way to slowly build up function arguments or provide functions their arguments in a way that reduces code duplication? There is a way. It's called currying. Currying is essentially saying, hey, little function, I know you want a certain amount of arguments, but I'm just going to give you one at a time. So it's basically turning a multi-argument function into a series of functions that return functions, and each of those functions take one argument. So it turns it into a series of applying a single argument at a time. And so what we're going to do is drive this to be curried. So this would basically say on the first application of the function, we give the books, and that's going to return a function, right? So this would return a function that takes a year, and then it would call the books.filter, and it would have everything. And in this case, just as a proof of concept, we're just going to include the year. So we're going to apply it right away. So this would be curried, but not partially applied. So let's just watch this test fail. Test. So it's saying, hey, books in year, when you apply that function, does not return a function. It's saying, okay, so you invoked it with books, and then we tried to invoke it again, but it doesn't return a function. So let's go ahead and make it that way. We'll say that we take books, and then we take a year. So that's all that is, right? We went from one arrow function to two arrow functions. This first function here returns just another function, and that function is lazy. It hasn't executed yet, so we can still we can just move the result of that around just like a first class value, and when we're ready, we can apply the year to it. So in our current implementation, that didn't matter as much. But say we are interested in using same books collection, but with different years. So let's make a curried books stored function. So this will be exactly this. And this is partial application, right? So breaking down the function to take one argument at a time is currying, and then actually using that to your advantage, it would be partial application. So let's say we'll call in96 to be curried books in 1996. And then we'll just change the 6s to 7s. So 97. Let's just say expected 1, expected 2. This will just be the Harry Potter one. And now with tape, you have to say up front how many tests you're going to run. So I would expect in 96 to equal expected 1. This is going to equal expected 2, and this is in 97. Let's run that test. Cool. So that's great. We were able to only load the books into that function once, and then from there it's just waiting right here inside of this function, and we don't have to continually supply books to it. So I think that's good for this episode. We basically broke up the function from requiring the arguments upfront all at once to this curried pattern where we only provide arguments one at a time, returning functions that take the next argument and once all the arguments are supplied, then we actually execute the function. So let's call that, oops, I got one of these new ortholinear keyboards, and the number layer was throwing me off sometimes. Anyway, what did we change? We changed our test a little bit just to make an assertion on how this works. And yeah, we're going to make these two different expectations. So 1997, we would just expect this one book. In 1996, we would expect these two books. And as we saw, that test passed, and we have a curried function. So we'll say episode 3, curried application. And curried function. Cool. Oh, I didn't add it. That would be helpful. So that is that branch. Feel free to check that out if you are so inclined, and we'll see you back next time. What we'll do is we will look at how the order of arguments affects our function and its composability. So that'll be next time, and we'll see you then.